Just when I thought I couldn't find my way out, yeah, I searched the God in me to find my way out. I know it can seem way out, but the Creator flows to and through me from way out. I'm talking way out, yeah, yeah, yeah. See, if you believe in the God in you, it's a better place. Creating the force and the power to live a better day. Just know that love and joy and peace is one in all of the same space. That you were chosen just like God. Can mine, can mine. How can mine your energy? That's right. How can mine say? Only you can make the change. How can mine share your energy? How can mine shine so bright from darkness to light. Hey, hey, hey. From darkness to light. Yeah, and you'll find your way out. Yeah, yeah. Oh, it won't seem way out. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The power of God will flow through you from way out.
So, I have some bad news. Looks like James Broadnax appeal didn't go through, and at 6 o'clock today he was executed. So let's look into the case of James Broadnax. This is a very, very sad situation, guys. He he admitted to a crime that he didn't commit, trying to protect his cousin, and he got the death penalty for it, and he just was executed. So let's go.
Without as much as a blink, James Broadnax talks about how he took 2 lives.
The blank, you know what I'm saying, I shot him, like stumbled back, shot the driver. He hit the ground, you know what I'm saying, but he like leaned up like he was finna try to get back up. So I shot him in the head. Then his homeboy, I shot his again, you know what I'm saying, but he was still trying to run off, but I knew he was gonna die anyway, but just to make sure.
Man, listen. He was not the one who did this. It was his cousin. He took on the role of his own cousin, who later, last month, finally admitted that he was the one who did it. So, I mean, his cousin has to be, hurt, because, damn, this guy died for you in your crime. Insane.
I shot him, like, you know what I'm saying, twice in the head or whatever. Me and my kinfolks ran their pockets. You know what I'm saying? He jumped in the driver's seat. I jumped on past the side. We dipped out.
Tonight, a man is going to die in Texas, and the person who confessed to the killing is already behind bars, breathing, living, watching it happen. To understand how we got here, we have to go back. Garland, Texas, June 19th, 2008. Just before 1 a.m., 2 men are outside, Stephen Swan, Matthew Butler, Christian music producers. They weren't looking for trouble. Trouble found them. 2 teenagers stepped out of that car, and within minutes, Swan and Butler were on the ground, shot multiple times. 2 lives, gone for $2. Within hours, both teenagers were in custody. James Broadnax, Demarius Cummings, cousins, both 19 years old, both talking.
How much money did you guys get?
You know, he had $2 in his wallet, you know what I'm saying?
Describing his life as, quote, hell, Broadnax says he has nothing to live for.
I don't want life.
You don't want life.
People want. If they don't, I will.
How do you feel today, Mr. Cummings?
I feel real bad. You know, I feel that was wrong what we did. You know, I know how their family feel about it. You know what I'm saying?
So how do you feel now?
You know what I'm saying? I kind of regret what I did, but shit, can't change it. I know you was crying though.
What do you want them to know about you?
I want them to know I didn't kill nobody. I didn't kill her husband or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
He was the one who killed. He was the killer. Not the cousin that was boasting and bragging. He was the one who did it. And he allowed all this time to go on with his own cousin in death row. He allowed his own cousin to spend all this time on death row. And he finally came up and admitted that he was the one who did it a month before he was to be executed. So now, look at him, man. Oh my God. This guy is a straight up pussy. Because let me tell you what happened. What happened was he told the cousin to take the rap for him because he had already had done other stuff, and they were like, they're gonna throw the book at me, so you take the fall for the kill. Now, no, they were not supposed to kill nobody. They were supposed to just rob them or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But he chose to kill them. Then he told the cousin to take the rap sheet for it because he said, well, they're gonna they're gonna hem me up. So don't you take it. And so this guy is a scumbag. You hear me? Let's go.
But you do admit you contributed to it.
Yeah, I contribute to it. But I didn't kill him though.
You're sorry it happened, sir?
Yes, sir.
What do you want to say to the families of the two men you killed?
Straight up.
Broadnax gave a recorded interview to reporters, not to police, not under caution, to reporters, on camera, voluntarily. He said he and Cummings drove to Garland looking for someone to rob. No plan, no target, just whoever they found.
Was he still high on PCP when they interviewed him? Why was a film crew allowed to even interview him? Like, is that normal? Let's go.
He said he had the gun. He said he pulled the trigger both times. He said he kind of regretted it. Kind of. That interview became the spine of everything that followed. But there was something else Broadnax said, something the courts would spend years refusing to fully reckon with. He said he was high on PCP that night, phencyclidine, a powerful dissociative drug, hallucinations, paranoia, severely impaired memory and judgment. A 19-year-old, high on a dissociative, talking to reporters, without a lawyer. That statement, given in that condition, sent James Broadnax to death row. Subscribe if you're new here. This is the kind of story you want to follow to the end. Trust me on that. At the trial, the prosecution's own DNA expert took the stand and testified, for the state, that James Broadnax's DNA was not found on the murder weapon, not on the trigger, not on the grip, not on the victim's pockets, not on their clothing. The only trace that couldn't fully exclude him? A mixed low-level sample on a shoe. Mixed, low-level, inconclusive. That's it. But here's what that same analysis found about Demarius Cummings. His DNA linked to the gun. His DNA linked to one of the victims. The man who got life, not death. Life. His DNA is on the murder weapon. The jury heard all of this and still voted for death. James Broadnax had one prior offense, non-violent. Under Texas law, to sentence someone to death, the jury must find that person represents a future danger to society. No violent history, no pattern, no criminal record to build that case with. So, the state reached for something else. 40 pages of handwritten rap lyrics, written by Broadnax as a teenager. Themes of violence, robbery, street life, selected, framed, read aloud. To a jury that was almost entirely white, by a prosecutor who called the defendant a new breed, a monster, like predators on Animal Planet. Years later, Travis Scott, Killer Mike, T.I., Young Thug, and Fat Joe filed legal briefs in his appeals. Their argument was clear. Rap lyrics are not a confession. They are not biography. They are art. And using a black artist's creative expression to condemn him before a nearly all-white jury is not evidence of future dangerousness. It is a racial stereotype, dressed up as a legal argument. Now, the jury itself. During the selection process, prosecutors maintained a spreadsheet, tracking every prospective juror by race, by sex. 7 qualified black jurors were struck from the panel. 7. The trial judge himself noticed. He found a disproportionate number of black prospective jurors being removed. He reinstated one, just one, to prevent an all-white panel. 1. The jury that sentenced James Broadnax to death. 11 white members. 1 black member. Notes found on that spreadsheet, disclosed years later by the Dallas County District Attorney's Office, included phrases like age plus race, written next to the names of black jurors they struck. Demarius Cummings, whose DNA is on the murder weapon, whose DNA is on the victim, convicted of the same double murder, sentenced to life without parole, not death, life. No one has ever fully explained that gap, not in any court document, not anywhere. Then came March 11th, 2026, 50 days before the execution date. Demarius Cummings signed a sworn affidavit under penalty of perjury. He said this: he planned the robbery, he obtained the gun. He, not James Broadnax, shot and killed Stephen Swan and Matthew Butler. He explained the silence, all 17 years of it. He believed James had no record and would receive a lighter sentence if he took the blame. He thought he was protecting his cousin. He was catastrophically wrong. He cited a spiritual transformation in prison. He cited the...
If you don't get the fuck up out of here. You have a spiritual transformation. It takes 17 years for a fucking spiritual transformation. What the... Man.
Moment he learned, in February 2026, that James had been given an execution date. He said he could not stay quiet any longer. On March 19th, Broadnax's attorneys filed the affidavit with the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals. They requested a stay of execution, a new trial, relief. In early April 2026, the court rejected it. Their reasoning? The defense had not obtained the statement with sufficient diligence, and Broadnax had never fully recanted his original confession. The door closed, again. Before we go any further, Stephen Swan and Matthew Butler were real people. They were outside that studio that night doing nothing wrong, shot for $2. Their families have lived with that loss for 17 years. That pain is real. That grief is real. Nothing about questioning this process makes their lives matter less. The question is not whether a crime happened. It did. The question is whether the right man is dying for it. James Broadnax arrived on death row at 20 years old. He is now 37. He has a fiancée named Tiana, who has spent years fighting for him from outside those walls. By every account from those who know him inside, he is not the same person who sat in that courtroom in 2009. He mentors younger inmates. He writes. He has changed. The prosecution told the jury those rap lyrics proved who he would always be. 17 years of documented conduct tells a different story. One of the original jurors, a woman named Elaine Clements, has come forward publicly. She says that, in light of everything she now knows, she would not vote for death today. She also noticed the spreadsheet during deliberations. She saw the names of black prospective jurors bolded on the document. She raised it. Nothing changed. Here is what the record shows. 2 men committed a robbery on June 19th, 2008. 2 Christian music producers were shot and killed outside a recording studio in Garland, Texas. Not in dispute. Their names were Stephen Swan and Matthew Butler. Real people, real loss, real families waiting for justice. That matters. It cannot be minimized. But here is also what the record shows. The DNA on the murder weapon does not belong to the man scheduled to die tonight. It belongs to the man who, under oath, under penalty of perjury, has confessed to being the shooter. The confession used to send Broadnax to death row came from a 19-year-old on PCP, talking to reporters, without a lawyer present. The jury that voted for death was selected using a document that sorted people by race. The case for execution was built, in part, on 40 pages of teenage rap lyrics, read aloud to an almost entirely white jury, by a prosecutor who called the defendant a monster. One juror has doubts. The co-defendant has confessed. The Supreme Court has petitions before it. The governor has been asked for a reprieve, and the clock is running. This case is different. Not because the crime was less serious, not because the victims matter less, but because the chain of evidence, built in 2009, has been coming apart, one strand at a time, year after year, and tonight, at 6 p.m. Central Time, the state of Texas intends to act on it anyway. The question of who pulled the trigger was answerable in 2009. It may have been answered wrong, and tonight, it becomes permanently, irreversibly unanswerable. If this case made you stop, made you question, made you feel something, share it. The algorithm buries these stories. You don't have to. Subscribe for more deep dives into the cases that reveal what justice in America actually looks like. Not.
Wow. So, U.S. Supreme Court denies Texas James Broadnax final appeal, clearing way for Thursday execution. The death row inmate argued that he should not be put to death because a co-defendant confessed to the double murder, clearing him in the shooting. So he was not even the one who did it. Now, he might have been the one in the robbery. He wasn't the one who shot. Do you guys think that he should still get the death penalty? I mean, what are y'all thoughts? I don't know. The U.S. Supreme Court on Thursday denied Texas death row inmate James Broadnax's final request to block his execution set Thursday evening. Broadnax was sentenced to death on 2008 in the robbery and deadly Garland shooting of two music producers, Matthew Butler, 28, and Stephen Swan, 26. Broadnax's appeal centered around a confession from his co-defendant and cousin who did it, right? DeMarcus Cummings claimed he had shot the two music producers, not Broadnax. The appeal argued that his sentence was unconstitutional in light of the confession. It also argued that the DNA evidence corroborated Cummings' confession only his DNA was found on the gun and one of the victims. So his cousin was the one who did it, but his cousin pretty much allowed his own cousin to die. Man, that's crazy. Y'all don't think that's fucking insane? Y'all don't think there's something wrong with that? Like that the actual cousin was the one who did it. Man, that's crazy.
The elementary that I went to, it was College Hill Elementary School, not too far from where we lived in the projects in Texas County. One particular day, me and some of my friends, we were coming into the cafeteria. It was an older guy in the cafeteria that I seen him drawing. So went up to see what he was doing. Hey, what you drawing? He started speaking to us and he was telling us he's going to school for engineering and to hopefully be an architect. So I'm like, architect. So I'm looking. So basically what he was doing was mapping out blueprints for a project that he was working to scale. And it looked super cool to me. And I'm like, man, I'm like seeing artwork, I'm into drawing this sort of thing. But what he's doing and what he's telling me about it is it pulled me in, it just caught my attention. So like at that moment, it just sparked something in me where I'm like, man, I want to be an architect. Like I want to do what he does. When I was younger, school was, it became an escape to get away from home. Like I looked forward to going to school. I love learning science, all of that. So, but later it got to the point where I started losing interest. I began to like kind of transition into like this purely survival phase, because not just the toxicity of being abused physically and all of that. It's like I'm pretty much being starved. So now I got to kind of find a way, figure out how I'm going to eat on my own. If I can't go to my friend's house and maybe eat with them for a day, then how I'm going to get money for, So it's like a lot of those little things built up into a bigger problem of how am I going to survive. So started losing focus, started skipping school, grades started dropping. A lot of things that I was passionate about, wanted to be an architect, wanted to get into engineering, do underwater welding, and all of these things. It was just like, you know what? That's a dream that's not going to be realized in my lifetime, because right now I got too much going on and I can't commit time to. So you know what? Just forget it, type of thing. A few weeks before this case happened, I talked to an Army recruiter. I don't even remember like exactly where I met him, but where one of my relatives was living at the time, we ended up having a meeting, and he came to speak to me, and he was, explaining the process of, okay, this is what you would need to do. This is how you would get in it. If you accept it, you go into basic training. However, doing all of that, if you can commit to this 3-6 month process and doing that, you say you want to go back to school, the Army can help you with that. You want an education, the Army can help you with that. You're talking about resources, opportunity, and it's like everything this guy was saying. I'm like, man, where you been all my life? Like this is what I need, this is what I'm looking for, type of thing. But it was like, again, I'm 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I wasn't focused. I was too undecided on too many things, and it was like, okay, yeah, I want to commit to the time, but right now I'm not as disciplined as I should be, and I'm pretty sure I won't be able to do that. But I did have a real interest in wanting to do it, and it's something I was considering heavily. But not be on death row. I would not be in prison. I think in a very different way. I would have a family. I would have something solid, and not just career, just a foundation to fall back on. I think a lot of the principles and character traits that I had now, it could have been developed a hell of a lot earlier. Would have been able to get my education, like what I really wanted to do. Got into a good career field, being able to be a more productive citizen of society, being able to, support and benefit my country as well. That whole thing with being a patriot. But just overall, I think, my life would have turned out completely different. Yes. That has been something I regretted over the years, not taking the opportunity to enlist in the Army. Growing up, it's pretty well documented that I had a pretty traumatic childhood. I dealt with depression, throughout like the younger years of my life, going into my teenage years, and I felt that if I could numb myself from that, not think about it so much, or figure out a way to kind of like, how can I say, take that part of your life, lock it away in your brain, so it's just suppressing it, really. In doing that and not focusing on it, not having to talk about it, doing a thing like that, then maybe I can move forward in a different way in my life and get past it and act like it never happened, type of thing. So just being vulnerable and speaking about that, like, not only is it painful, it creates problems in your life. But the older I got, especially since being here, I realized that that's worse than actually confronting your problems, right? So that's why, like, I'm much more open to talking about it now, because it's not only is it my story, and I've had to find my own way of healing and figuring out the therapy side of that, right? In overcoming, but in facing that, in dealing with it, and confronting it for what it is, I've a lot of that has actually been some of the staples that's been able to allow me to help other guys around me, whether that's mentoring, whether that's just being a friend, being a brother, and being open about that because I understand and recognize my struggle and I know what comes with the pain of that. So that's where it started. Humbling myself, surrendering, and committing to like real change fundamentally across the board. Um, Yeah, so I get here, and over the time, I've self-educated. I've participated in a lot of personal development, fundamental redemptive courses, right? Of what they gave us access to with the faith-based programming and stuff like that. But even before then, you're talking about 12, 13 years before then. Um, I self-educated. I was already participating in mentor programming, um, reading, studying, focusing on like what's inside of me that I need to change and develop to become that person that I have a vision for, right? Or like who I've been called to be. If you can change your mindset, you can effectively change your life. Period. It can happen. You just have to believe and you need to commit to the process. The lessons that I've learned, the wisdom that I've gained, the classes that I participated in, graduated from, that all of that, in addition to different friendships and relationships that I've built over the years, a lot of that is what goes into me being passionate about pouring into other guys around me, right?
Hey,
If I can be available to them,
her book bag.
specifically guys around here, mentoring and, being a sort of like a big brother type of
Get to
thing.
the school thing, like call me and I'll bring it to
Because I know what the process of that change changed in my life
Right.
and,
Is
and
everything
what
okay?
it helped develop me into. And it's just, I would like to reach back and give that to other guys if they're pursuing the same thing. We were able to get a green light from the warden when it comes like to the mentor program, the peer-to-peer program mentorship that we were working on. One of the officers here, Stuttgart, me and another brother, Tony Ford, we worked directly with him. He requested the help from us, but we worked directly with him to create this fundamental program of mentorship, this peer-to-peer program to give back to the guys that's in the facility. And everything that goes into that, it's already been greenlit and authorized by the top people in the administration, in what we were working to do. I do have a lot of friends now of like what started as like a pen pal effort. It has turned into like real friendships. And it's crazy that I've had friendships being on death row that lasted longer than friendships I had when I was free. Like, no kidding. It's crazy. I was just thinking about it the other day. One of my longest friendships, like since being here, is a couple friends overseas, and one of them has been for like almost 16 years now. It's crazy. So you don't see that a lot where I grew up, and people get disconnected and fall out for crazy reasons. But I've met people over the years, and again, like I have friendships now that has lasted over the years, and these people never asked nothing of me but just to be genuine and to give who I am. And it's been amazing. I've learned a lot through that. It's been some beautiful connections, and I think that's part of the beauty of this situation with having that level of exposure and meeting people from all walks of life all over the world that I probably would have never been exposed to, so but yeah, it's been great. And a lot of them I see as family, not just friends, But yeah. Tiana is My Tiana is my fiance. Hopefully in the next few weeks, she will be my beautiful bride. She is amazing. She is a hell of a woman. Strong in character, personality, smart, intelligent. She's amazing. We have the same spiritual vision. We have the same vision for our family, what we believed in, the foundation for it, and everything. And I like to think that she is my twin in a lot of ways. She is absolutely my best friend. Um, Anything I could ever ask for in a life partner. A lot of people's, from what I've seen, now I'm only 37, but in my 37 years, a lot of people's perspective when it comes to relationship tends to be a little short-sighted to me, especially when you're just thinking about the physical aspect, because a relationship is so much more than that. I would say that's a factor. If you love a person like that with everything in you, of course you want to be together physically. Just something as simple as holding hands, hugging and kissing, and just that emotional connection of being available to each other. Of course you want that, but when you're talking about a mental, emotional, and a spiritual connection with a person and finding somebody that completely, suits you, it's so much more, right? It's so much more um, sufficient, and it feeds you in a different way versus just being physically connected to somebody or thinking about a sexual aspect of a relationship. That's not what it's all about. Knowing somebody on the spiritual level, that emotional and that mental connectivity, that is to me what deepens your relationship and the bond, and it creates something that's like can be truly unbreakable. A big part of what I've reflected on in my life, it stemmed from that, you know, feeling like you were an outcast, you were thrown away, nobody loved you, nobody wanted you. And a lot of the problems in my life, it came from being in that mindset, or developing this mentality. But knowing that you are worthy of love, right? You are worthy of a relationship that's not toxic. Um, you can't have a healthy marriage just because you didn't grow up seeing that. It doesn't mean it's not possible for you. And it may sound pretty simplistic, but I do think it's that easy. Once you're exposed to that type of emotional connectivity, and the love and the bond and the commitment, the devotion of what you and that other person share, it can open up so many other avenues in your life just because you experience real love. Um, okay, so let's get creative. Um, all right, there's a poem that I wrote. It's actually a spoken. I write a lot of spoken.
Man, this is sad. This is really sad.
Well, I know James is my cousin, my blood cousin. My mother, his mother, they're sisters. That's what make us cousins. And I've been incarcerated going on 18 years now. Well, in June it'll be 18 years. So 17 years and some months. I've had time to think about my life, and most of it had to do with my cousin and me. So a lot of times I thought about it, and it just was never sitting right with me. You know, we was in this crime together, but he's on the other side of things that I should have been. With him getting a death penalty, that should have been me. So I feel like this is an outlet to get it out to whoever gonna listen, as far as who y'all dealing with, to tell the story as it should be told. That it was me, that I was a killer. And bro just stood in my place. Cause at being young, as I knew things, I didn't know nothing, but I told bro to do what he did. And so in my ignorance, it got him the death penalty. And hurt, even now it's hurting me because like I say, it's been weighing on me. It's just been weighing on me, and I just think I need to get it out because it's destroying me. Even at this point, I'm under behavior management. I'm still here messing up. Like I say, I think I've grown some though, but I think I got to get it out. I had already told him, look, just don't say nothing, bro. You know what I'm saying? I done already been through this, just don't say nothing. You know what I'm saying? I told him the story, we was in a dope fiend rental and all that. You know what I'm saying? So, but once I learned that they knew some of what they knew, I'm like, man, they not supposed to know a lot of what they knew. But only me and him knew what really happened. So when we went to Dallas County, they let us, like, I think we was in medical or something. If I remember correctly, we was in medical, but we was right next to each other. We was talking to each other. I'm like, look, bro, we gonna have to tell them that you did it. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying that you did it because you ain't got no criminal history. You know what I'm saying? Bro, I've been down already. They gonna hang me, bro. If I come forth and I tell them I did this, even if you don't get off, I'm gonna hold you down, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna make sure you all right in her. So when I told him that, bro told me like, man, look, bro, I'm down for you, bro. I ain't tripping. I'm gonna hold you down, bro. I got you. Say, just tell him you did it. Tell him you was the shooter, bro. You gonna get out. You know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna get off. You gonna do some time, but you gonna get out, bro. You know what I'm saying? I've known people that done did this right here. I know that this ain't something that they can just throw you away for. Like, you gonna get some time, but you ain't. I'm really basically just telling, just throwing it off on him just to take the case. So,
Did he need convincing or was he open to the plan immediately?
see, James the type of person, if he fuck with you, he loyal, you know what I'm saying? He down. That's all I had to say to him. He was already down for it. He like, bro, I'm gonna take the case, bro. You know what I'm saying? So it didn't surprise me that he actually went in on the interview. We didn't even know that they was gonna do interviews. But I'm thinking like, I'm finna go on and make this known so it'll be official, like this is what's going on. I gotta play this remorseful role. I gotta make it seem like I'm the one that was remorseful, that didn't do it. He was the one that was the shooter. So when they asked us to do the interviews, I went in. Like I said, I didn't even know bro did the interview. So when he did the interview and I seen him, like, oh, bro, really, he really in, and he really down. Like, he took the charge. Like, he told me he was the killer. And I shot Matthew Butler and Stephen Swan, taking their lives. It's like I feel my life being snatched away. Because now, seeing things from the perspective that I see them, when you take a life, it's like from that point on, you curse like you took that life. It's like I feel my life being taken when I did that. Like I feel my life being taken away from me. Because it's like I feel like when I did that to them, my soul was being snatched. You know what I'm saying? It was fool's play. it was the devil's game. But even now, like, you know what I'm saying, a lot of people are aware. Like, that's why I say it's crazy. I'm glad that I came to know God, because even here I heard people like they glorified it. How can you be known to something like that? Like, when I did that, I didn't feel that was right. I felt it was wrong.
What inspired you to come forward now?
Just knowing it's the right thing, just the right thing to do. That he shouldn't have to suffer because of me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is there something about the timing that you decided now versus, a few years ago?
Yeah. Truthfully, like, I don't want it to sound harsh, but I mean, it's just me being selfish. You know, it's the seriousness of it. It was always there, but I used to always blow it off like, man, he good, like, you know. But like I say, him having a date, it's like, nah, bro, that ain't. Just go on still for it, bro. Go on, let him know what's up, man. Like, you don't want to have to live with that. It's hard to convince people, but all this time, why now? You're waiting to come forth, you know. But for me, I'm not trying to convince them. I'm just telling them like it is. This is what happened. Now, y'all choose to accept it or not. It's on y'all, you know. Just know I still forth. I came forth. And, yeah. If y'all kill him, y'all be doing wrong. Y'all be making a big mistake. That's the only way I can put it.
Well, he did pass away at 6 o'clock today, like an hour ago. They did carry on with the execution. Man, let's go into the show I did about this whole thing. Hold on, guys. Demarius Cummings filed a sworn statement saying he, not Broadnax, was the actual shooter. This is not a rumor. That's a legal affidavit filed in court weeks before execution. Now, he's supposed to be executed on April 30th. And in the meantime, I wanted to kind of show you guys some background on the situation here. So let's check out what people are saying.
For that. Texas death row inmate James Garfield Broadnax, who is now 37 years old, was 19 years old when he murdered 2 people, a crime that later got him sentenced to death. Broadnax was born in 1988. He dropped out of school in the 10th grade, and as so many others his age and in his situation do, he had turned to drugs as often as he can. His drug of preference was PCP, according to reports. Broadnax also wrote rap lyrics and kept notebooks filled with handwritten verses. And you should know that some of the lyrics that he wrote were actually used against him by prosecutors at his trial. And after killing 2 men in need of money for drugs, the most he and his accomplice found in the pocket of one of the two men that were murdered was $2. That's what he got, $2. They all
Wow. So I remember when I first moved to Texas, I lived in Garland, Texas. So this was very crazy to me to see, the actual news story where he was talking about it. He confessed to it. He pretty much was very cold hearted in his news story. I mean, to see him look in his eyes, you would think he was very convincing that he was the one who did it. He actually got on the news and said, yeah, I did it. And so what? I don't have any remorse. I don't care. Blah, blah, blah. But I wondered if he didn't have any remorse because he wasn't even the one that did it. He was covering for his cousin. And his cousin finally comes out 14 or 17 years later, right before he's about to get executed, and finally tells the truth. It's crazy. This is insane. So now what's happening is like there's this whole bid trying to get him freed of the death penalty, which is about to hit on the 30th of April. He's about to be put to death, guys, for the killings of these two guys, which now they're saying that he was not the one who did it. Now, I don't know whether this is a strategic plan, like that they would release this information right before his death. I think this is a crazy time to finally give a confession. I'm not sure if they talked on the phone, but this is insane. Let's go. But do you think that they're gonna just hold it up, say, hey, you were there during it, so too bad, so sad, you admitted to it, hey, death penalty stands? Do y'all really think that they are going to carry this out and actually kill a person that was not the shooter, but the other person, the accomplice? Let's see.
Also used one of the victims' 1995 Ford Crown Victoria to get back home. Broadnax would later say that he had set out to rob because he was in need of money to get him back to his hometown of Texarkana, but it seems nobody really believed that. During the late night hours after what was now June 19th of the year 2008, Broadnax had gotten together with his cousin, Demarius Cummings, who was the same age as Broadnax, 19. While at Cummings' apartment in South Dallas earlier in the evening, where Broadnax was also staying, they made plans to go rob someone of their money. Now, Cummings' mother, Broadnax's aunt, had an AK-47 rifle, but that would be too big to take with them. So Broadnax borrowed the rifle from his aunt and exchanged it with someone on the street for a smaller handgun. Shortly thereafter, they got on a train and they left Dallas and traveled to Garland, Texas, about 32 miles away. Broadnax would later say that the reason they chose Garland was because there are mostly rich white people in that area. Meanwhile, sometime after midnight, 28-year-old Matthew Butler and 26-year-old Stephen Swan were working late at Zion Gate Records, a music studio owned by Matthew Butler. The studio typically recorded Christian music. Stephen was a sound engineer. Matthew was described as a committed Christian, a loving husband, a father, and the beloved son of his parents. Here we see Matt standing outside his recording studio alongside his dad. When Matthew and Stephen had completed their session sometime about 1 o'clock in the morning, they left Zion Gate Records and locked up. Just outside the recording studio, they were approached by two young men, James Broadnax and Demarius Cummings. Broadnax and Cummings pretended to engage the two recording studio men with some friendly conversation. Broadnax had first asked if they had a cigarette. They then began asking questions about what kind of music they produce and other friendly chit-chat questions. But a moment came when Broadnax retrieved the handgun that he was carrying and began shooting both Matthew and Steve. After rifling through their pockets with the men down on the ground, they retrieved a total of $2 inside one of the wallets and some car keys. Broadnax and Cummings got inside of Steve's 95 Ford Crown Victoria with the wallet and the $2 and drove back to Dallas. Shortly after,
Man, that is crazy. $2. So this shows how stupid. Okay, hold on. This shows how stupid people could be when it comes to drugs. They $2. Like they didn't make sure that they got the right people. They just saw white people. They said, okay, this is the one. Because they were coming out of the studio, they probably thought that there was some money involved. And honey, all they had in their pocket was $2 measly. Could you imagine about to get the death penalty over a $2 robbery? This is where and how desperate them drugs will get you. Now I'm gonna tell you this. Until I moved to Texas, I hadn't heard of PCP except for on the movies, but I actually ran into some people that were addicted to that. And PCP, I would say, is worse than even the crack. The addiction to that is equivalent to heroin, crack, all your big drugs, And the fact that they were addicted to this drug and to show how desperate they were. First of all, to get to this studio, Garland does not have a bus system like that's really strange. The bus, especially in this area that they were at, you have to. There's no real buses like that, so you have to. They're on foot now. They took a bus all the way to Garland, and now they're on foot, walking probably miles, trying to find a place, trying to find someone to get down on. Okay, because there's no buses are going all around Garland. I used to live in Garland. The fact that they were over here in this area, they were just walking around trying to find somebody to get, And then I guess that they must have heard some music coming out of the studio and just like lingered around there. They probably thought they were going to get somebody. And honey, lo and behold, they come in and they get people broke as I don't know what, $2, But just the thought of how unorganized and how like they're just so desperate that they're just willing to just do anything. The fact that they would ride 32 miles out to Garland, walk probably a couple miles to get to this place where they think that they got some money. And who knows, they probably was somebody must have said something. I don't know why they chose this particular place to go. Out of all the places in Garland, there's Walmart. There's places that you probably, I don't know, but Walmart is not that rich of a place, guys. Garland, I'm sorry. Garland is not that rich. I don't know why they thought it was a bunch of rich people out in Garland. It's just regular middle-class people out here in Garland, So it's the whole thing is just crazy. That's just showing how drugs will have you making some stupid decisions, because that was not the move.
1 o'clock in the morning, a local riding his bicycle and going past Zion Gate Records saw the two men lying dead on the ground. And because there was a fire station nearby, he quickly went there and reported what he saw. And Garland police were notified. Once back.
And let me tell you this, ain't nobody walking around in Texas at night at 1 o'clock in the morning. The whole thing is just weird. When you go to listen, parts of Texas, especially like these outskirts suburb towns in Garland, no one is hanging out at 1 o'clock in the morning like that. So it had to be they had to have known that those guys were in there, because there's no other way. People do not. One thing about Texas is after a certain time, unless it's the weekend, you're not going to see. It's not like New York, where people are just walking around and hanging out. You know what I'm saying? These are like places. These are family, working class places. People are asleep in their house, in their bed at 1 o'clock. So just the fact that they were at that particular place at 1 o'clock, they had to have known that those particular guys would probably be there. And they probably thought they had money, and that's the only thing I could think of. And one thing that when I moved from Detroit to Dallas, we realized that we noticed after about like maybe 10, ain't nobody moving around like that. A lot of stuff is closed, stores are closed, gas stations closed down in certain areas. It ain't you ain't moving around at night like that, 1 o'clock. The buses aren't even going at 1 o'clock. So I'm like, well, how are they going to get back to South Dallas? You know what I'm saying? Because ain't no buses to get back. Ain't no train running at 1 o'clock in the morning. So the whole thing was they had to have known that particular place, and staked it out and thought that place was going to have something. Maybe they were going to hit the place. Who knows? But the whole thing, it's crazy to me. But once again, you know, people on that are, when they're on these having these addictions, they'll do anything, and it's pretty sad. That PCP stuff. I wish that they didn't never come out with that because that stuff is crazy.
In Dallas, Broadnax returned the handgun to his acquaintance on the street, and he got the AK-47 back, which he then returned to his aunt once they were.
So his aunt has an AK-47. He takes the AK-47 from the aunt, trades it in with another person, gets a handgun, goes out on the bus to Garland, 30-something miles away, hits these people, get $2 out of the whole deal, come back with the gun, give it back to the drug dealer or whoever he traded it with, takes the AK-4. The whole thing is crazy. Like this 19 years old on drugs, don't know what's going on. Just doing a bunch of bullshit. You know what I'm saying? And now they're in prison, and now one person's about to face the death penalty for being stupid. Let's go.
We're back in the apartment. While there, Broadnax, with people around in the apartment, bragged about the murders and even showed some of the people there Steve's driver's license. Broadnax had also said that he was going to go sell the car. Later, Broadnax and Cummings removed the forged license plates and replaced them with plates from a Cadillac. After that, Broadnax and Cummings went to a pawn shop where they pawned some tools that was in the victim's car. They then drove to Broadnax's hometown, Texarkana. Apparently, along the way, they had also stopped to pick up an 18-year-old named Lonnie Harris. Meanwhile, a friend of Broadnax's aunt, who was in the apartment and overheard the entire conversation when Broadnax and Cummings were there, had seen news on TV about the two murders in Garland, and she picked up the phone and called Garland police and told them exactly who they need to look for. In Texarkana, a police officer ran the license plate on the Ford going past him, and he saw that those plates were registered to a Cadillac. So he did a traffic stop on the Ford. He then ran the VIN number for the vehicle and learned that the car was stolen and involved in a double homicide in Garland. All three men in the car were arrested for murder. Garland police were notified, and they went to Texarkana to pick up the three men and take them back to Garland. The third man in the car, Lonnie Harris, was later cleared when police concluded that he was not present when the crime happened. Over the following days, James Broadnax agreed to give recorded interviews to news media sources, something usually strongly advised against by defense lawyers. But he did it anyway. And
Why? See, again, 19 years old on drugs. I think he might have been still high, because I'm like, why would you should have seen this news story. It was crazy. Like, where is his lawyer? Who told him to do this? You know, why would he even get on the news? And you should have seen, they might show a little bit of it, but oh my God, check this out.
Not only showed no remorse for what he had done, it seemed he just wanted to make himself famous for what he had done. Here is a segment of one of those interviews. I have cut out from the audio some parts when Broadnax spoke profanities.
Cuz I want to tell my story. What happened?
What happened? Why?
You know what I'm saying? Let's hop on the train. Let's go to downtown Garden. You know what I'm saying? And we gonna ride somebody. Let's go out there where the rich white folks stay. You know what I'm saying? Ride one of them. You know what I'm saying? So we get out there and shit. Time just ticking. Like, man, you know what I'm saying? Shit, something got to go down, dog, because it's a long walk back to South Dallas. You know what I'm saying? We walking through, you know what a recording thing is, right?
See, let me tell you this. They drove out. They took a bus out there. Didn't even have bus fare to get back. They had to, if this was a mission, they had to come up with something because they probably only had the money and probably didn't even have no money to even get out there. How did they get there? They got out there, probably took the train because you could kind of jump on the train and probably like dodge having to pay if you don't have a person on it. Probably broke his head, took the train out to Garland, walked downtown, and just doing a bunch of BS. You know what I'm saying? Just a bunch of bullshit. You know. And look at how he's looking. It's sad. Look at how he looked. Like he just like it's a no brainer story. He don't realize how serious this is. He's 19 years old. He's hooked on drugs, and he want to be a rapper so bad and want to be famous. I guess this is what he thought he was going to be famous for. Honey, you do not want to be famous for this, sir. So let's go.
You know what I'm saying? In the bank right behind. So we walking through the parking lot. Like, man, y'all got one of y'all got a cigarette? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So shit, he went to go reach for it, pulled the pistol, shot him, shot the driver. He like the one I shot at first, he stumbled back, you know what I'm saying, like dropped, got back up like he was finna run. The one I hit second, you know what I'm saying, he raised up like he was finna do something, so I shot him in the head. You know what I'm saying? Then the other one, shit, shot him twice in the head.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So me and my cousin ran their pockets, you know what I'm saying, got the keys, got their wallet. Hopped in the driver, hopped in the passenger side. We dipped.
Do you have any remorse? None whatsoever.
Do it look like?
So what do you think is gonna happen to you now?
Hold on. Here's the part that he said, do it look like it. Watch this.
Hopped in the driver, hopped in the passenger side. We dipped.
Do you have any remorse? None whatsoever.
Do it look like?
So what do you think is gonna happen to you now?
Hopefully the death penalty.
Hopefully?
Yeah.
Why do you hope?
Can they give me life? I'm gonna kill somebody else. Straight up.
What?
I'm telling you right now.
So you want the death penalty?
They better pick one.
You know what's so stupid is that he didn't even kill the first. He didn't even kill the first. He didn't even do it. I guess he just trying to take up for his cousin. His cousin is wild, you know what I'm saying? But he's trying to take up for him so bad. He just hurried up and rushed and just took the whole blame for everything. He don't even understand. Like until he gets a little older, now you're gonna see that he changed. The changing of the tune is about to happen when that chair is fixing to come into play, or that bed, or whatever they about to do. Finally, the cousin stepped up. I don't know why the cousin ain't been stepped up and said, "My cousin is a little crazy and off. It was me," but. It just says a lot. Let's go.
You gonna have some more bodies.
What did you think when the police caught up to you?
What I think? When they hit the lights, I said, damn. And started laughing. You know what I'm saying? Just like I'm doing now. And looked them in their face with a big smirk.
And right now, as we're talking, they're burying these two men in their funerals. Still not an ounce of sympathy, not an ounce of remorse for them or their families.
Wow.
No.
Wow.
Those news interviews that Broadnax gave did not help him with his trial or sentence when that time came. And as we know, he was sentenced to death. His cousin and partner in crime, Demarius Cummings, was also found guilty of murder, and he was sentenced to life without parole. Earlier, I spoke a little about one of the victims, Matthew Butler. The other victim in this case, Stephen Swan, known fondly as Steve, was born in Dallas in 1982. Steve was also a devoted Christian who loved to sing, played various instruments, and enjoyed recording Christian music. He and Michael were longtime friends and very much enjoyed spending time together, sharing the passion that they both enjoyed, producing Christian music at Zion Gate Records. As one family member stated in an obituary, friends and family can take some comfort in knowing that they had joined each other in heaven. Please.
Yeah, shouts out to his channel.
Go ahead and hit
his channel. I think is about this. Focuses on people that are getting the death penalty. I think it's called Death Row and Executions. Please support his channel. But man, this is a very, very tragic story, you know. But here's the thing. So now what's happening is that they are trying to find justice for James Broadnax, because now, come to find out, the cousin is now saying that he's the one who did it. So let's go. Let's check this out.
Gonna die anyway, but just to make sure. Pop.
No, he had $2 in his wallet.
It's just been weighing on me. James been telling my story this whole time. I'm ready to come forward, man. I'm ready to go and tell it like it's supposed to be told. But that it was me, you know, that I was a killer. I shot Matthew Butler, Steve Swan, taking their lives. It's like I feel my life being snatched away. It's just been weighing on me, and I just think I need to get it out. Because it's destroying me. I feel like I should be in this place.
It took 17 years though for it to weigh on you before you finally said, until you knew that did you think it was gonna get overturned? Like why did he take so long to, why was it weighing on you so long though? Why did it have to wait so long for you to say something? I don't understand. This is your cousin, your blood cousin, and you allowed him to take the file and be on death row for 17 years before you finally step up and say something. This is the craziest story I ever heard in my life. Well, now I'm glad he finally stepped up, but I don't know if his cousin is going to get any sympathy, because the way he told the story was so out cold. I don't know if they're going to believe you. You know, here we go.
Understanding your place in life and where you want to go has a lot to do with how you deal with your past. Not using it as a crutch is way stronger, you know, than finding somebody to place the blame on. It's not a day that I haven't thought about the circumstances that led to me being on death row.
James, he's my cousin. We grew up together when we were younger. We actually grew up more like siblings.
He was a staple of the house. He's always had jokes, you know, wanted to have fun. He was goofy.
He's just really upbeat.
Big baby.
I'm the big sister, but I was always a little big sis. He'll say that. What's up, little big sis? This is me. This is James and my sister Corinne. And this is James in one of his elementary school pictures. He's definitely protective. He's definitely somebody you could depend on. If you needed somebody to be there, you could definitely depend on James to be there, for sure. He was very protective. He was, and it's so crazy because to say he was going through so much, he never really showed it.
I'm not too sure I knew about the pain, but in regards of him not having a mother around, I knew about that. I never seen Audrey with James. I never heard James talk about him.
I can probably count on one hand the amount of times that we saw her.
Around the age of maybe 2, my mom relocated us with my great aunt, who I knew as my grandmother growing up very easy. And she lived in Hope, Arkansas.
And Hope was really country, a lot of dirt. It was hardly any grass. We didn't have any toys. The only person that had any toys was my brother Aaron. Aaron was the favorite. She used to tell Aaron, those ain't even your real brothers and sisters. And she didn't like James because he was too white.
She was real rough, tough on James, due to the fact that he was biracial. She's
Man, this is sad. This is a sad story, because that mother wound, people don't even understand what happens with the mom and, how that could shape a young boy's life if the mom is not intact, So this is a real sad story, guys. So please brace yourself. We also have to talk about this, that he's facing death penalty, so they're probably already in mourning. When a person goes to prison for life, you already go through a mourning process. I'm sure the family went through a lot, even this whole ordeal. Now that his execution date is around the corner, I'm sure that they're already experiencing a mourning process of him. So my heart goes out to his family. It's sad that they made these decisions at such a young age that has put him here. But yeah, let's go.
He would have to stay in his room like long periods of time, like more than a week, sometimes 2 weeks. Like the only way James would eat is if me and my brother was sneaking food out the window.
We did witness her beat James on multiple occasions.
This started between the ages of 6 and 7. It was like very abusive, verbally, physically. This one day, she slapped me across my face, grabbed me by my shirt, and just started dragging me from the street through this gravel brick yard. She takes me into the bathroom. She runs a cold bath. She poured bleach in it and made me sit in it. The wounds that were on my foot just immediately started burning. I tried to get out. She forced me in it and made me sit down in it. And it's just like, man, it was very, very painful.
Mid-June, probably 105, 106 degrees. When I pulled up in my mother's yard from work, James was sitting on the porch. He was just sweating, crying, tears and sweat. So when I went to him, walked up on the porch, I said, James, what's wrong? He said, his big mama. He said, big mama won't even let me in the house to get anything to drink. So imagine being in a place where you're not accepted to begin with. And not only not being accepted, but you're also not loved. Where you feel like the love should come from, you don't have love there. You don't have love anywhere. And you're just existing.
Later on, and come to find out that his brother was molesting him, he told my big mama about it. He was showing her that he had blood in his underwear. And she was upset about it because James's older brother could do no wrong in her eyes. He was like the golden child.
He was so hurt. He was so broken. He didn't have a mama that cared. He never knew his dad. His grandmother hated him. His own brother molested him. People that's supposed to protect you, provide for you, guide you, into the right path. He never had that.
Every day was a day to a wish never born. But you see, sometimes it takes pain to make the brain a little smarter. I was traded the chance of being a child with the father for a talent of being able to survive when it's harder. Through a flame, the frame of time watches uncertainty. I dealt with depression throughout like the younger years of my life, going into my teenage years, feeling lonely and like an outcast and just completely disconnected from everything. When I would get high, allows me to get away from everything. That's how it started until it became an addiction. So it's like a lot of those little things built up into a bigger problem of how am I going to survive? So 18, 19, unstable, chaos, trouble, just on the streets. Didn't have a job. Same thing with my cousin. He didn't have a job. We're basically drinking and drug using, smoking weed laced with PCP. Eventually led up into the bigger conversation of let's rob somebody. It happened so fast, a gun got pulled. This wasn't supposed to happen. This wasn't the plan, but now it's like it's done before I could even say anything.
I think I was at home and my cousin, Kermit, called me. James is in prison for what?
Matthew Butler and Stephen Swan. The two were found shot to death outside of the Zion Gate record studio. The young men accused of killing Butler and Swan are talking.
Let me get you to go ahead and tell us your first and last name.
James Broadnax.
What's your last name, James?
Broadnax.
All right, James, and you're 19?
Yep.
Okay.
During the trial, we did see the video, and that jailhouse interview that he gave was unbelievable.
You killed two young men now.
Better they life than mine.
Wow.
Do you have any remorse?
Broke my heart. And I also said to myself, even if I watched it today, I'm like, that's not my brother. His demeanor, just the way he was describing everything.
You know, stuff he was saying and doing and looked like him and it sound like him. I'm like, bro, this is like, it's somebody else inside this guy.
Nah, I pulled the trigger. He was just there.
I didn't kill nobody. I didn't kill her husband or whatever.
We was right next to each other. We was talking to each other. Like, look, bro, we don't have to tell them that you did it. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying that you did it because you ain't got no criminal history. You know what I'm saying? Bro, I've been down already. They gonna hang me, bro. If I come forth and I tell them I did this, you know I'm down for you, bro. I ain't tripping. I'm gonna hold you down, bro. I got you. See, James the type of person, if he fuck with you, he loyal, you know what I'm saying? He down.
James admitted to doing it because that goes back to James being loyal and trying to solidify some kind of family connection that he was lacking.
Wow.
He's that person that protects his family member, taking the blame.
I just look at James in that video and I wonder who he really is. I think that maybe there is someone else under that disguise.
If you tell me about your past and make you feel like you do now about life.
Look me in my eyes and tell me what you see. You got nothing to live for?
Why you say that, man?
Because I don't.
Before the incident happened, James tried to commit suicide and it failed through. Was this an opportunity for him to have somebody to do it for him than rather him do it for himself?
You know you're probably looking at capital murder.
Yeah, 2 counts. I don't want life.
You don't want life.
Pick one.
Sometimes when you can't do it yourself, you would rather have somebody else do it for you.
If they don't, I will.
Because you can't do it alone.
Wow.
I was once told to cry to cleanse the soul. I depict mine as 50 because I never let it flow. Contemplating so many holes that you refuse to let it go. As in this pistol I load, rising up on my tiptoes. In a chair to tighten the grip of a rope across my throat. A suicidal method to release me from the cold. The way I was acting, this callous demeanor, is true and completely false at the same time. The feeling of what I was projecting, it was very much real. I didn't care about my life. Whatever happens, happens. I'm okay with dying because I don't want to live anyway. However, what I'm confessing to is completely false. You know, if I could say anything to the family of Matthew Butler and Stephen Swan, I would just want to give my deepest, sincerest apologies. The events and circumstances that led to their brother, their son, their nephew, you know, losing their life, I wish it would have never happened. And if I could take it back, I would. Even committing to the fact of wanting to rob somebody, I shouldn't even did that. I wish I could show them my soul so they could see just how sorry I am sorry. I am very much remorseful for everything that happened.
I met James in 2017, and there was something about him at the first time that we met. Such a gentleman. I asked him, what did he believe? He didn't really know God at the time, but he said he was spiritual. And so every time I would go, we'd pray.
The biggest turning point in my life was when I made the decision to surrender to God and His will for my life.
James had to learn how to love himself. He had to learn to love God. He has faith because now he knows that he's not alone.
James and I met in October 2024. I had started my Human Rights International Master's degree after finishing law school. I decided that I wanted to do a paper on racial disparities and the death penalty in Texas. You are my blood bonded together in time through the blessing of what we are. You are soulful healing to my wounds that are in your hands. I took the risk, and it's the best risk I've ever taken.
She is absolutely my best friend. Anything I could ever ask for in a life partner. That love, and I never had that before. Knowing that it's possible, knowing that it can be realized, that it can be true for you, you know, and everybody, I feel like it's deserving of that, right? It changes everything.
When I was 16 years old, we talked in school about death penalty, and I wanted to kind of do something good and reached out to him through a platform. We've been writing for those 15 years like a brother to me. Through these last years, he became more thoughtful about things. He would tell me a lot about the courses that he took or books that he read, and it had a lot to do with personal development. Always wanted to broaden his mind.
One of the very first conversations we had, he was like, so what you know about existentialism? And I was like, X or what? Like I had never even heard the word before. Once he broke it down and we started having that conversation, it really showed me like, okay, this dude is more than what meets the eye.
He was very respectful. He wanted just to have a friendship with me. Each time I receive a letter, I can say I love him a bit more. Before judging, we have to know a person, discover his soul.
I was still convicted and rooted in the fact that I want to change, learn the behavior and abuse turned me into mentality-wise. I do not want to be that same person going forward. If you can change your mindset, you can effectively change your life.
I just visited with James. He was so kind and sweet and calm. I was so surprised and taken back at how intelligent he's become. I learned the answer to my question, and there's definitely a different person behind that disguise. During the time he served, he became who he was supposed to be.
The lessons that I've learned, the wisdom that I've gained, a lot of that is what goes into me being passionate about pouring into other guys around me.
He wants to serve people. He wants to mentor people.
He wanted to reach out to help younger people, trying to prevent them going the same way as him.
Working to come up with a program or some type of curriculum to share with everybody else. But also using that same tool and those resources to be able to create initiatives, again, to bring other people up that maybe grew up in a similar situation, to be able to open up programs and initiatives that help them find their footing, to give them direction and to build that character that's seen as worthy of being a productive member of society. I have a very big vision that it's well beyond me.
Who better than the person who have made a mistake to talk to those individuals?
And if you can come out of your darkness and bring some light and love into our young people, you've done your part.
Once upon a time, my vision towards life intended for me not to make it, but I'm here, allowing you to glimpse a part of me that I feared. What was has always been. You only seem to appear. It was a time to realize children want to shed pure tears. Finally, I found me.
Life will never be the same again for me. How would I react that day? I don't know. All I know is that I've lost my best friend. I've lost my best friend.
I feel that surely there's a case for his death sentence to be removed. How can you execute a man with new evidence like this?
It was hard to convince people, but all this time, why now? Just waiting to come forward. For me, I'm not trying to convince them. I'm just telling them like it is. It's what happened. Now, y'all choose to accept it or not. But the truth of the matter is, I was a shooter. And if they kill, bro, they'll be making a mistake. A real big mistake.
So you're going to take a James, whom God loves, and you want to kill him for something he didn't even do.
No matter past pain, trauma, and all of that, it's no excuse. I want to change it in any way that I can. I wish to make it right. Just really hoping and wishing and praying that they could find it in their heart to forgive me.
Wow, that's powerful and sad and everything all at the same time. So he is set to be executed on April 30th. This is a sad story, child. You guys, I don't know. I don't know if he's gonna stand a chance. I think that this confession might have come too late in the game. I think it's something that the family members are kind of like getting involved and talking to him. Maybe there's something they can do to petition, but I don't know if he's going to stand a chance. So let's go.
Broadnax is scheduled to be executed in Texas on April 30th. The 37-year-old is on death row after being convicted of capital murder in 2008. James has filed several appeals. One after another man confessed to the crime, one stating prosecutors prevented Black jurors from participating in his trial, and another for using his rap lyrics as evidence against him. Here's what's unfolded as I've reported on his case for the Dallas Morning News. Let's start from the beginning. In June 2008, James and his cousin, Demarius Cummings, who were both 19 at the time, robbed two men outside a music studio in Garland, a city in Dallas County. They left with very little, only $2 in a 1995 Ford, and in the process killed both Stephen Swan and Matthew Butler, who were producers at the studio. James immediately confessed to the killings in jail interviews. He said he did it without hesitation and didn't care about the punishment. He said at the time that he believed he had nothing to live for. At separate trials in 2009, James was sentenced to death, while Demarius was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. But here's where the story took a surprising turn. This March, Demarius signed a written confession stating it was him who shot Matthew and Stephen, not James. Demarius said he convinced his cousin to take the blame, assuming James wouldn't get the death penalty because he only had a marijuana charge on his record, while Demarius had been convicted of more serious crimes. It's easy to see this as a Hail Mary to save his cousin's life, but court documents have long stated that James's DNA was never found on the murder weapon or the victims, while Demarius's DNA was found on both. But a couple weeks ago, the Court of Criminal Appeals said they would not intervene in James's case. They argued it was not enough for Demarius to take responsibility for the shooting when James had never recanted the confessions he made in jail. James still has an appeal with the United States Supreme Court, but that one covers an entirely different issue. James is arguing that his constitutional rights were violated during his trial when prosecutors used his rap lyrics as evidence he poses a danger to the public. Stay up to date on these and other stories from death row at dallasnews.com.
So it's appearing that he is still going to be executed based on that information that we just heard right there. When he does go before the Supreme Court, he's going to be arguing something that they might not even want to care about, about his rap lyrics. That's going to be not a strong enough thing. I don't know why the new evidence, the new confession might not stand up at all. They said they wouldn't hear it, so it looks like he's going to be executed. So listen, guys, put your comments down in the comments. Do you think that he should still get the death penalty, considering that there's a new confession from his cousin that just came last month? Do you think that they should re-look at the case? What do you think? What are your thoughts? In the meantime, thank you guys for watching, and this is DJ Genesis signing off. Peace.
Just when I thought I couldn't find my way out, yeah, I searched the God in me to find my way out. I know it can seem way out, but the Creator flows to and through me from way out. I'm talking way out, yeah. See, if you believe in the God in you, it's a better place. Creating the force and the power to live a better. Know that love and joy and peace is one in all of the same space. That you were chosen just like God. Give us your energy. That's right. I'll give myself. Only you can make the change. I'll give my share your energy. I'll give my shine so bright from darkness to light. From darkness to light. Yeah. And you'll find your way out. Yeah. Oh, it won't seem way out. Yeah. The power of God will flow through you from way out. You'll feel it from deep within, and from there you can begin.
The cruelty of impulse, not the cruelty of passion, but the cruelty of the scheduled, the cruelty of a date circled in red ink, a number written into court documents, a morning that has been coming slowly, inexorably, for years. April 30th, 2026, Livingston, Texas, the Pulaski Unit of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, home to the largest death row in the United States. Somewhere inside this facility, in a cell approximately 60 square feet wide, a man named James Broadnax has been awake since before the clock even turned. He knows what day it is. He has known for a long time. To understand April 30th, you have to go back to 2008, to a night in Garland, Texas, a city just east of Dallas, and a recording studio where two men were going about the business of music. Stephen Swan and Matthew Butler were music producers. They were outside their studio when they were shot and killed in what prosecutors would later describe as an attempted robbery. Their deaths sent a shock through the local music community. Two young men were arrested shortly afterward, cousins, both 19 years old, both intoxicated. Their names were James Broadnax and Demarius Cummings. What happened next would define the following 17 years of James Broadnax's life, and the question of what actually happened in that parking lot would shadow every single one of those years. In the immediate aftermath of the arrests, both men gave on-camera jailhouse interviews to local television reporters. These were not formal interrogations. These were young, frightened, intoxicated men speaking into cameras in the hours after a violent crime. In his interview, Demarius Cummings expressed remorse and maintained that he had not fired the weapon. James Broadnax, in his interview, said that he alone had pulled the trigger. That interview would become the cornerstone of the state's case against him. The men were tried separately. James Broadnax was convicted of capital murder by a Dallas County jury in 2009 and sentenced to death. He was 19 when the murders occurred. He was 20 when he was condemned to die. Demarius Cummings received a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. There is something important about the physical evidence from that night. At trial, the prosecution's own DNA expert testified that James Broadnax's DNA was not found on the trigger or the grip of the murder weapon. Demarius Cummings' DNA was found on the gun. That detail did not prevent the conviction. The jailhouse interview, Broadnax's own words, spoken while high on PCP and marijuana in a moment of psychological upheaval, was enough. Or at least, it appeared to be. Death row in Texas is not what most people picture when they imagine a prison. It is not loud. It is not chaotic. In many ways, it is something worse. The Polunsky unit in Livingston, Texas, houses death row inmates in conditions of extreme isolation. According to the Death Penalty Information Center and well-documented reporting by prison rights researchers, men on Texas death row typically spend 22 to 24 hours a day in single-occupancy cells. The cells are small, roughly 6 by 10 feet. They are individual, solitary. Each man is, in the most literal sense, alone with whatever he carries. There are no communal meals, limited physical contact with other inmates. Interaction with guards is procedural, not personal. Visits from family and attorneys occur through barriers, glass in many cases. The years do not pass so much as accumulate. They are not experienced as time in the way that free people understand time. They are experienced as repetition. The same cell, the same light, the same routine, cycling over and over, year after year, while appeals wind their way through courts. James Broadnax entered the Polunsky unit in 2009 at the age of 20. By 2026, he had spent 17 years there, more than half his life. He had aged from a teenager, barely out of adolescence, barely past the years in which the human brain is still developing its capacity for judgment and consequence, into a grown man in his mid-30s. He had filed appeals. He had waited. He had filed more appeals. Researchers and psychologists who study death row populations describe the psychological phenomenon sometimes called death row syndrome, a state produced not merely by the prospect of execution, but by the combination of extreme isolation, indefinite waiting, and the constant cycling of hope and despair that accompanies the legal process. Hope arrives with a new appeal, a new argument, a new hearing. Despair comes with each denial, and then the cycle begins again. For James Broadnax, the cycle would take one more dramatic turn, less than 2 months before his scheduled execution date. On March 11th, 2026, Demarius Cummings signed a sworn declaration. In it, he admitted publicly, for the first time in 17 years, that it was his idea to commit the robbery, that he obtained the pistol used in the shooting, and that he, not James Broadnax, was the person who fired the weapon. His signed statement explained how the story was constructed, how in the hours after the arrest, both men were still intoxicated on PCP and marijuana, and how they had spoken about what story they would tell. Cummings, according to his own account, persuaded Broadnax to take responsibility for the shooting because Cummings had prior convictions for burglary, while Broadnax had no violent record. The logic, however twisted, had a terrible internal coherence. The man who had not killed anyone confessed to killing, because the man who had believed the burden would fall lighter, it did not. Cummings stated that what finally compelled him to come forward was a meeting with attorney Stephen Herzog on February 20th, 2026, in which he learned that his cousin had been given a firm execution date. His declaration reads, in part, that he did not want James to be executed for actions that he, Cummings, had committed. On March 19, 2026, Broadnax's attorneys filed the new appeal and sworn affidavit with the Texas courts, asking them to stay the execution, remand the case to the trial court, and vacate the death sentence. There were other dimensions to the legal fight as well. A separate petition before the United States Supreme Court argued that prosecutors had used racially charged language at trial and had introduced rap lyrics written by a teenage Broadnax to portray him as a future danger to society. Lyrics presented to a nearly all-white jury. 7 black prospective jurors had been struck during jury selection. Documents later revealed that the Dallas County District Attorney's Office had created a spreadsheet identifying the race and gender of potential jurors and bolding the names of prospective black jurors, documents that were withheld from the defense for years. In February 2026, dozens of musicians, activists, and public figures, including artists of national renown, filed amicus briefs with the Supreme Court supporting Broadnax's appeal, arguing that the use of rap lyrics as evidence of dangerousness reflects racial assumptions not applied uniformly to other forms of artistic expression. The courts, as of the morning of April 30th, 2026, had not stopped the execution. What follows is a reconstruction. It is based on the well-documented general procedures of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice on execution days, on the accounts of former death row inmates, prison chaplains, corrections officers, and legal observers. Where specific details are unknown, and many are, they are presented as general procedure, not as confirmed fact. In the general practice of Texas executions, a condemned prisoner is moved from the Pulaski unit in Livingston, where death row inmates are housed, to the Huntsville unit in Huntsville, Texas, on the day before or the morning of the execution. The Huntsville unit, known informally as the Walls, is where executions are carried out. The two facilities are located roughly 45 miles apart. This transfer is one of the most surreal transitions a human being can undergo. The prisoner is moved from one institution, where years have been spent in suspended waiting, to another, where waiting ends. The morning inside a prison on an execution day carries a particular texture, according to those who have worked in or observed such environments. The routine, the constant grinding sameness that marks daily life on death row, is broken. Guards speak differently. Movements are more deliberate. There is a weight in the air that everyone feels and few acknowledge openly. For the condemned, the morning carries its own specific gravity. Attorneys may be reachable by phone for last-minute developments. A chaplain or spiritual advisor may be present. In the general practice of Texas executions, the warden and prison officials maintain a formal procedural calm. Not out of indifference, but because procedure is the container that holds what might otherwise be unmanageable. James Broadnax had been through years of this waiting, but the morning of April 30th, 2026 was different. Every execution day is different in the same way. The date on the calendar is no longer a future abstraction. It has arrived. Psychologists and researchers who have studied death row inmates, their writings, their testimonies, their mental states as execution approaches, describe a landscape of the mind that is extraordinarily difficult to convey to those who have not inhabited it. Some describe a strange calm after years of anxiety, of appeals, of cycling hope and despair. The arrival of the actual day can produce a kind of terrible resolution. The uncertainty, at least, is over. There is nothing more to fight. There is only this. Others describe terror, pure, biological, involuntary. The survival instinct does not honor legal proceedings. The body does not understand why it should not fight to continue. Many describe a narrowing of attention. The peripheral world, the political arguments about capital punishment, the public debate, the names in the news, falls away. What remains is the immediate, the faces of people loved, the weight of regret, the particular quality of the light through a small window. For James Broadnax specifically, the psychological dimension of these final hours was colored by something unique, the knowledge that a new confession existed, that his cousin had signed a sworn statement, that somewhere in the machinery of the courts, his attorneys were still fighting, still pushing, still arguing that the wrong man was scheduled to die. What it means to carry that knowledge, to know that evidence of your possible innocence exists and has been presented, and yet to watch the hours continue their indifferent march, belongs to a category of human experience for which ordinary language is insufficient. In the standard practice of Texas executions, condemned inmates are permitted to have visits from approved family members, friends, and spiritual advisors in the period before the execution. These visits are among the most intimate and devastating encounters that families of the condemned describe. There are things you prepare to say, and then, when the moment comes, the prepared words feel inadequate. They always do. According to those who have observed and participated in such visits, legal advocates, chaplains, family members who have spoken publicly about their experiences, the conversations in these final hours often move away from the case, away from the legal arguments, away from the injustice or the guilt or the 17 years of appeals. They move toward the personal, toward memory, toward the texture of an ordinary life before all of this began, toward the people you love, toward the things you wish you had said sooner. For James Broadnax, a man convicted of a crime his co-defendant has now sworn he did not commit, the conversation with any visiting family members would have carried a dimension of grief particular to this case. The grief of someone who may have been failed not just by fate, but by a system that had every opportunity to look more carefully and chose, in the end, to proceed. In Texas, condemned inmates are traditionally permitted to request a special last meal. This practice has been the subject of public discussion for years, a ritual that sits uncomfortably at the intersection of ordinary human comfort and extraordinary institutional violence. It is important to state clearly the specific details of any last meal requested by James Broadnax on April 30th, 2026 have not been publicly confirmed at the time of this documentary's production. It would be irresponsible and disrespectful to the gravity of the moment to invent details that belong to a private human experience. What can be said in general terms is this: the last meal is one of the few moments in the execution process where the condemned is offered something resembling choice. In a world that has, for years, offered almost none, a choice, however small, however circumscribed, carries an outsized weight. Former death row chaplains and prison officials have described the act of watching a condemned man eat his last meal as one of the most quietly devastating parts of the job. There is nothing ceremonial about it. It is simply a person eating, knowing it is the last time. What James Broadnax requested, what he ate, whether he ate at all, these details are not known publicly, and they are left, as they should be, to the private record. The hours before a Texas execution move according to a formal protocol. There are forms to be completed, official notifications to be made. The warden's office coordinates with state officials. Witnesses, including representatives of the victims' families and, if requested, witnesses for the condemned, are brought to the facility and prepared for what they will observe. A spiritual advisor is typically present with the condemned in the final hours, if the inmate wishes. In Texas executions, this is a well-documented and common practice. The nature of those final conversations, whether they are prayers, silences, reminiscences, or something entirely else, belongs to a private space that no documentary camera can or should enter. Attorneys for James Broadnax had been working around the clock in the days and hours before this date. Appeals had been filed. Courts had been asked to act. The machinery of last-minute legal intervention, familiar to anyone who has followed capital cases, was in motion. Whether that machinery would move in time, whether a phone call would come, whether a stay would be granted. These were the questions that hung over the final hours like a weather system that refused to either break or clear. In the documented history of Texas executions, last-minute stays have been granted. They have also been denied. The courts do not follow a script, neither does hope. In the established procedure of Texas executions, the condemned inmate is escorted from the holding area to the execution chamber by a team of corrections officers. This movement, a short distance in physical terms, is one of the most written about, most contemplated transitions in the literature of capital punishment.
SCOTUS rejects an appeal of a man who could be set free even though he's been executed over rap lyrics. Here it is.
Some of the biggest names in hip hop are helping attorneys fight a Texas death penalty case where prosecutors used the defendant's own music lyrics during his sentencing. In 2009, the defendant, James Broadnax, who is Black, was convicted for the 2008 murders and robbery of 2 white men in Garland, Texas. Broadnax was sentenced to death instead of life without parole by an all-white jury. A major factor in his sentencing was 40 pages of his own handwritten rap lyrics, which some say is unconstitutional. Some argue this is a violation of free speech and creative expression. Now, Broadnax's lawyers are asking the U.S. Supreme Court to halt his execution, which is scheduled for April 30th, and rehear the case.
We've talked about this when we first heard that there was an opportunity to advocate, we did. When Congressman Hank Johnson and the legislative conference decided to do a committee conversation and sponsor a bill to make it illegal for judges to utilize rap lyrics, we went to D.C. And Jamal Bowman was co-sponsor of that bill, by the way. We went to D.C. We saw the outrage. Howard University School of Law was there. Did a remarkable job. Faculty engaged. Everybody's engaged. Young, not so young. But somebody stood up and said, yeah, but what if they're just, very bad people? Well, that means you prosecute them based on the law. That's what that means. Prosecutor has to work for the conviction. Because if you make it easier to convict him, it is easier to convict you, and you did nothing. Put it up full mask. There's a lot of nuances to this, but let me be very clear. This is not about guilt or innocence. Let me take it out of that category now. You are presumed innocent unless you are proven to be guilty. He has been proven to be guilty by a court of law. The issue is the execution. The execution is a different phase of the trial in which rap lyrics were used as a way to amplify his danger, okay? Now, this creates precedent. Why is this unconstitutional? Number one, we've never done it before until now. Number one. Number two, country music lyrics or rock lyrics about doing drugs, selling them, domestic violence, whatever it may be, none of that would ever be utilized against a pop music star, a country artist, rock artist in a court of law. Never would it be used against them in a court of law. In addition to that, I want you to think about a rap song. You go to a studio, you have co-writers, you have a producer or multiple producers. People are going back and forth with you about the lyrics. Sometimes you have a ghostwriter. Sometimes the writer is listed on the credits. It's more than one. Then you have someone who decides to digitally edit your content. It's called mastering. And then they distribute that content to the world. You have about 15 people involved in the making of that artwork. But the individual who happens to get paid the least amount of money for the art is the only one that those lyrics would ever be used again. That is the tragedy, because he's not the only one writing anything. This is also theater of mind. It is theater of mind. And theater of mind is sometimes influenced by real events. There's a reason why Drake raps about having parties, going to clubs. He's from Canada. And there's a reason why T.I. raps about the reflection of Bankhead, because that's what he saw. So Broadnax submitted 2 Supreme Court appeals. We talked about the amicus brief last time, signed by a handful of nationally recognized individuals, a lot of rappers, executive producer. Another one is based on the allegations that the state decided to strike Black members of the jury from participating in the trial. Both were denied. Broadnax is one of 2 confessed suspects in the 2008 killing of Mr. Matt Butler and Mr. Stephen Swan in front of a recording studio in Garland. However, this is the caveat. Mr. Demarius Cummings, who is the cousin of Mr. Broadnax and also the co-defendant, said the idea to rob both Swan and Butler was his, and that he obtained the gun used that in that crime. In a declaration he shared this year, quote, "I persuaded James to take the blame for shooting the 2 victims. In fact, I was the one who shot the 2 victims," he says, not James, end quote. Cummings submitted both Broadnax and Cummings were 19 years of age when the shooting happened. The prosecution continues to maintain that the cousin is simply doing this in an effort to save or salvage his cousin's life, and that his testimony or proclamation is fraudulent. The irony.
There's no DNA evidence. The DNA evidence shows the cousin did it. You understand what I'm saying? The DNA evidence shows the cousin's fingerprints. But the prosecution wanted to kill somebody. They wanted to kill somebody had to die. And you know what? They waited for this amount of time. They said somebody got to die. It's too late. But what a fucking coward the cousin was, that he waited to the very last moment to say something. He sat there and let his cousin take the fall What an ass, bro. This entire time he knew he was the one who did it. And he waited until a month before his cousin was to be executed to finally speak up and thought that would make a fucking difference. Man, listen, they don't give a fuck about that. Somebody had to die for it. And that cousin, I swear to goodness, I hope he can't sleep the rest of his days. Because you influenced that poor boy, because you knew he didn't have nothing to live for. You knew he was already depressed. I heard that he had been abused and stuff the entire time. He tried to commit suicide right before that. He had nothing to live for already, so that's why he didn't give a fuck about taking the fall for your stupid. Why did that dude kill those people? Why did he have to shoot them? For $2? For two fucking measly dollars. So, because y'all wanted to get high on PCP. And all they had in their pocket was $2 measly. And you killed both of them for what? And let your own cousin take the fall, child. I swear, I hope that this guy can't sleep a day of his life coming up. Terrible. That got to be the worst feeling in the world to know that you led your cousin into robbing somebody, and then for some reason your stupid ass opened fire on them and killed them, and your cousin take the fall for you, and you wait for 17 goddamn years before you finally speak up and say, I was the one who did it. And then he gets executed because of you, because you were the mastermind behind it. And you're such a fucking coward. You wait till the very last minute to even. Man, this is the most sickening case I have seen in my life. What in the hell? Oh my God.
Is if you have a trial today and that statement is entered into evidence, and it has to be because, well, this is a co-defendant and also an eyewitness, that creates reasonable doubt for Broadnax. That is how it works. There's more. The Supreme Court has yet to rule on an appeal centered around the confession, okay? His execution is set to take place tomorrow with the use of lethal injection. The Supreme Court does not have a requirement to hear cases. They get to volunteer which cases they hear but don't hear. I think it's quite cowardly for this not to be answered, because they don't simply rule on cases. What they do is create law. Because once they rule on a case, it creates case law due to their supremacy in the judiciary. So if they take this and they have to rule a particular way that follows at least somewhat of a theory of law, it creates that reciprocal for every state, including Texas. And it seems like to me they know good and damn well this is completely unconstitutional.
Wow. You guys excuse me for I falling asleep earlier because this has been exhausting. Just knowing this guy is going to go through this and he's getting killed for no reason. I mean, yes, he did rob somebody, but his buddy went too far. Imagine you go in there, you think you're going to do one thing, and then your friend shoots the person.
Update on the case of James Broadnax, the Texarkana man convicted of murder and put on death row. Broadnax was convicted for killing 2 music producers in 2008 in Garland. During his sentencing, Dallas County prosecutors used rap lyrics that Broadnax wrote to help get the death penalty instead of life in prison. The case is causing outrage in the rap community, with some saying it's unconstitutional.
So it's no different than you watching a movie or you reading a book or whatever. So to see somebody go to trial with the lyrics they used on songs that they came up from their imagination to be used against them, it's a crime in itself. And so we have to definitely take care of our freedom of speech.
Broadnax's execution date is set for April 30th. Also tonight, we have an update on the case of James Broadnax, the Texarkana man convicted of murder and put on death.
Well, I'm not sure. Did he? Man, this is crazy when you think about this. I don't see anything about him. About his passing. They killed him. Wow, this is man.
Good morning, Ryan. We are tracking a big story that NBC5 has tracked for years now. Of course, that is James Broadnax, convicted of killing 2 people in Garland years ago. He is set to be executed today. That's, of course, barring any reprievals that might come, maybe from the governor's office, that would delay that. But as of right now, he is set to be put to death. Let me walk you through the timeline of how this all happened and what we've been dealing with. You remember 37-year-old James Broadnax found guilty of those 2 deaths in 2009. The 2 men, Christian music producer Stephen Swan and Matthew Butler, were killed outside of a Garland music studio back in 2008. Now, Broadnax and his cousin Demarius Cummings planned to rob them. They left with only $2 in a 1995 Ford. Broadnax argued that there were no black jurors during his capital murder trial, that rap lyrics were wrongly used as evidence in his case. The U.S. Supreme Court, though, disagreed. His cousin, Cummings, is serving life in prison without parole. Broadnax was tried and convicted as the gunman, but earlier this year, Cummings said that he was the gunman, not Broadnax. Cummings said he talked to his cousin and talked him into taking the blame because he had already been convicted of other crimes. Now, the lethal injection is set to take place again, barring any changes, at 6 o'clock in Huntsville. We'll have more on this throughout the day. Stick with us. We'll be back after the break with more news.
Wow. Well, you know what? I have covered this as much as I could. I feel sad. This is really a sad situation. Much love, guys.
Just when I thought I couldn't find my way out, yeah, I searched the God in me to find my way out. I know it can seem way out, but the Creator flows to and through me from way out. I'm talking way out, yeah. See, if you believe in the God in you, it's a better place. Creating the force and the power.